Strength and power go hand in hand. We work hard to improve our bodies and use our bodies to learn new skills. Socrates once said, "No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training." Much the same, many a biker has also philosophized that no one has the right to keep a bike stock, especially when it comes to performance. We can try to argue against either of these thoughts, but when it comes down to it, constant improvement is the fuel that pushes the human species forward. So why stop now?
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to The Next Story. I'm Justin, and I am here today with Ben Pfaff from Eastside Speed Shop in Ellenville. How you doing, Ben?
Nice to meet you, Justin.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Fantastic shop you have here, right on 209. I've passed you guys, I don't know how many times, probably going way too fast to be able to stop and say hi, but it sounds like that's what you guys are all about here anyways.
Hell yeah, man. It's all about speed.
Nice. How'd you get started with this?
Well, I've been into motorcycles since I was 10. I got my first dirt bike, you know, as every kid, you know, and then it just changed my life.
So it sounds like you almost kind of always knew this is it for you. This is what you want.
I did, yeah. I always wanted to have my own shop, but I didn't have the balls to pull the trigger. I think when I was around 26, I had a really good friend of mine that I worked with, and he was kind of old school chopper dude, MacGyver, crazy stuff. And he kind of introduced me into, let's cut this fucking bike up, you know? And me and him built a bike together, and from then it was just like, holy shit, man. You can literally do whatever you want, whatever your imagination. From there, I was just like, it just snowballed, man. Yeah. Turned into a disease, you know? But I've always been into bikes my whole life.
Nice.
Eat, sleep, and breathe it, man. Every day, you know. So it's been a good ride, man.
As Eastside Speed Shop, what is it that kind of sets you guys apart?
Yeah. So that was one of the things I was talking about, where something had to change early on, because it was the monotony of like the dealership life. Just kind of didn't allow you to really do those cool things like cut a bike up and build it and, you know, do the motor up the way you want to do it, you know. And when I opened up this place, that was my imagination. I said, I just want to be free to do it the way I want to do it. You know, eventually made it what it is now, man. You know?
Very cool.
So we're like, you know, all about high performance.
Yeah.
You know, go faster, make it better, you know. So that's really what we do now, is pretty much just make, you know, modern Harleys fast.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not scared of the old stuff. You got a shit ton of power when we're done. So it's kind of what we like to do.
I notice, you know, when I see you guys on Facebook, it's not so much a focus on, you know, trying to draw in business by coming in here. Every time I see you guys on Facebook, it is just, you guys are partying.
Yeah.
I see burnouts going, I see tattoos,
Yeah, we want to have fun, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this shit's all about. You know, it's about having a good time. There's so many good people in the motorcycle community, man.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, people gravitate to that, and they want to be a part of it, and we want to be a part of it.
Now, was that like part of a business plan, or is that just like...
Nope, I didn't really have, to be honest, a legit business like plan on paper when I opened this place up.
Yeah.
I can just fix things and I can do it well. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and I always try to treat the customer the best that you can treat them. You know, I've seen so many times where people get treated like poorly.
Sure,
you know,
just another number.
Yeah, another number, and it's just about numbers and about money. And, you know, when I open this place up, it's more personable. So a lot of the people that come in here on a regular basis are our friends.
Oh, nice.
You know, so we create like this relationship with them, and, you know, they're in here, they'll come in the shop and hang out with us while we're wrenching and, you know, bullshit, tell us about this, tell us about that. And then they pull out of here with a third gear burnout and fucking, we're like, all right, we'll see you next time, man. You know, so it's just fun, you know, just kind of loosen it up and have a good time with it.
Cool.
You know, when somebody says they want to soup up their bike, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. You know. So that's what all this equipment back here is. You know, this stuff is all how we make the power. So this machine here is a Rottler seat and guide machine. You put your heads in this fixture here. You get everything zeroed out with your gauges. Once this is on, you can see all these numbers up here. You get everything zeroed out where you want it. And then you have these different cutter bits. All these things have different angles on them. You know, when they talk about multi-angle valve jobs, this is essentially what it's doing. And you can pick out any different type of valve job that you want.
Nice.
You know, and that's essentially where your power comes from. So this machine here, most of the time, we're pretty much just milling heads down on here to gain compression.
Okay.
You know, so we'll CC the cylinder heads themselves, measure that measurement, and then do a math equation to figure out what compression we want to set that motor to, depending on what cam we're using. And then this machine here, this is the hone tank. So when you talk about doing a big bore, that's where it gets honed.
Oh, wow.
And essentially you put these stones, you know, these stones, and there's different grits for whatever crosshatch pattern you want that you need to have for the type of ring that you're using. You know, because each ring demands a different crosshatch.
Okay, cool.
So you put the thing in there and you start honing away. Again, more measurements, lots of measurements until you hit the number that you want. And then this is the lathe. This is just for basic, it's kind of like a utilitarian machine right here. Kind of gets you out of a lot of jams. You know, it gets that bike back moving.
Cool.
A lot of shops don't do this kind of work anymore, and that's kind of what sets us apart. That's different. This is kind of something that's died off, you know, because 30, 40 years ago, every shop did this kind of work.
Okay, all right.
And they just don't do it anymore. Everything's throwaway. In here is where your valve guides would be. We press these out because they get worn out from wear and tear and, you know, all that good stuff.
Okay.
We'll press these out, press in new ones, but then they have to be sized to the valve guide. And that's what we'll do with this machine with these honing mandrels. And this is our little fixture for porting heads. So whenever you're going to make power, along with putting the bigger valves in, you got to port the ports, make them bigger so you get more airflow, you know.
Okay, cool.
But it's a fine line. So you take too much out and you'll have a shitty motor.
Oh, wow.
So you can't take too much out. You got to have velocity. That's what we focus on.
Gotcha.
Because this is a street motor. If you're doing like a drag motor, you can get away because you're just concerned about wide open RPM at, say, 7,000 RPM, right? That's all you're concerned about. You're not concerned about idle to 5,500, where that's where everybody's going to be riding their motorcycle on the street.
Okay.
So if you hog too much out, it'll be a piece of shit on the bottom, and you'll hate it.
That makes sense.
But it would have a big number up top, but that's not where you're going to be riding all the time. So this is pretty much where all the nitty gritty gets done all day long. We got multiple lifts here that are pretty much moving bikes all day long. You know, we can do probably this time of year, depending on how big the job is. I mean, we're getting 20 bikes a week dropping off, and we got to get them done by Friday.
Nice.
So they drop off on Tuesday, and Friday, Saturday, everything's got to. The people want their bike when it's nice out. So
fair enough.
Yeah. So we're hustling this time of year. So this is pretty much the dyno room, where it's a machine that's going to measure with this drum and the speed of the wheel. It's going to give you your horsepower and torque measurement.
Now, why is that important for a rider? Why would somebody want to get her up on the dyno?
Well, the horsepower and torque isn't really that important for the rider. It's important for us because we want to be able to do that performance work in the shop and then put it on the dyno and see if we actually made an improvement. So that when we do something on somebody's bike, we can put it on here and do comparison charts and say, oh, he lost a little bit on the bottom, but he gained way up here on the top. And we can kind of start to narrow that down. Was it an exhaust? Was it, you know, the bigger valves? What was it that made the change on the chart? But the main reason for the dyno is actually for tuning. So anytime you do any type of improvement on a modern bike, like with exhaust or intake and then getting into high compression motors and stuff, you have to tune that. If you get it on there and you're super lean and the bike's spitting and sputtering or it's blowing black smoke, you're going to see those numbers on there, and then you're going to start making tuning adjustments to it.
Nice.
Yep. And then once it's all tuned in, that's when you do the fun part, the final full power run that everybody sees people do on a dyno.
Yeah.
And then you get your chart up and you look at your chart and did you do a good job or a bad job? You know, it's just another tool you need to be able to do your job, essentially, you know? An expensive tool.
I'm imagining you've had some really interesting custom projects that have come through.
Yeah, we've done a lot of different stuff. Everything is kind of its own little animal when it comes in. It's nothing simple.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing basic. You know, we're not just throwing on chrome accessories on somebody's bike. It's always like something crazy that somebody wants to do, and we're like, all right, let's do it, you know? In the past, I mean, we've built countless shovelhead choppers. I mean, badass bikes. Tons of twin cam stuff. I mean, because that was super popular for a while.
Okay.
You know, now it's starting to kind of, the guys with the twin cams now kind of seem like they went to the M8, and you don't get as many in here for the crazy stuff, but they still pop in because there's some diehards that won't. Some twin cam guys won't hop on an M8.
Right.
Yeah, they don't like them, you know. But you know, they'll come around at some point.
You find something that you love, and you're just like, that's it. I don't care what else.
We got shovelhead guys that come in here that won't even touch like an Evo.
Wow.
You know, they're like, no, my shovelhead, I've been riding it for 50 years, and you know, he's the guy that's fucking fixing the shit on the side of the road and knows every part of that bike, and literally can just, boom, it's fixed. You know.
I wonder if there's just something that happens, a magic moment, and you just never let go. It's like, you know, I'm still trapped musically between 89 and 93. I'm like, there's a lot of good stuff that's come out, but that's the best right there, you know. And it was a magic moment in my life, you know.
It's probably the experiences,
right?
You know.
Yeah, things you associate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that good time you had, you know, and you kind of want to relive that, you know.
And that's a beautiful thing, man. I mean, if you had your best times on a shovelhead,
hell yeah,
keep at it, man.
Those guys back then were fucking super hardcore,
right?
I mean, they were, you know, some of the old timers that come in here, you know, some of these guys are a little fucking nuts, you know. But they're cool as shit, though. They're good, the best people, man.
Yeah.
They're just good people, man.
Yeah.
You know. They're wild, but they're good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all got to be a little bit crazy to be, you know, putting a tank of gas and a burning engine between our legs. You know,
yeah,
man. Crazy goes with it.
Yep, exactly.
If people want to get a hold of your shop, what are some of the best ways that they can find you? They find you on the internet?
Yeah, best thing is probably just follow us on Instagram.
Okay.
Eastside Speed Shop.
Eastside Speed Shop?
Yep.
Nice.
And then Facebook, you know. One of the other ways is to just come in and check us out, man.
And what's your address here?
It's 8081 Route 209. Ellenville, New York.
8081 Route 209, Ellenville, New York. And do you have a phone number?
845-210-4864.
Excellent. Now, you guys, I know I've seen a bunch of events and stuff on Instagram and Facebook before. Do you guys have regularly planned events, or are they just kind of, it just happens? Or?
We don't. It's kind of one of those things that kind of just organically flows.
Nice.
You know, I feel like if it's too planned, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
And the first few that we did was pretty crazy. You know?
Oh, wow,
I
okay.
mean, they got pretty nuts, you know, which is cool. We open it up. People can come right in the shop, hang out, and then we just, you know, roast tires off all day and all night. You know.
And then they're right here to get a fresh tire put on?
Yeah. Some guys will do them right out in the parking lot. You know, they're just burning them off one after another, 5 or 6 tires a night.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing what you guys got coming up. And it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much for showing me what you got here, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming in and check us out, man.
You got it, brother. Welcome back. I'm your host, Justin, and I'm here today with my friend Tommy Gleason. He's a retired City of Newburgh police motor officer. He's going to talk to us today about visibility. Tommy, tell us a little bit about the importance of visibility to start with.
Huge importance. What do you hear from everyone in a motorcycle accident who's driving the vehicle? I never saw the motorcyclist. Never saw him. Wear something bright, people. Bright.
That is bright.
This is bright, all right? You want to be seen. In the daylight, ride with your high beams on. High beam on a motorcycle, it's bright. You only have one light out there. Every car now has daytime running lights. Put your high beam on that motorcycle. You're not hurting anyone. They will see you better. Another thing you can do to be seen from behind, tap your brakes. Always tap your brakes. Never be at a stop sign or a stop light without looking in your mirror and tapping your brakes. Make sure that car coming up there sees there's a motorcycle stopped. So many people we hear about get hit from behind while stopped. I don't know why people don't see motorcycles.
You know what I've also seen, because, you know, sometimes at nighttime, I don't know how this reflects, but I have seen you can buy jackets and helmets and everything that have reflective stripes on them.
Just like Justin says, actual reflective tape, which is good on your motorcycle also.
You got the reflective tape. I have seen that as well, like the type of stuff that they use on semis.
Absolutely, great point. Reflective tape, if you don't have it on your helmet, put a strip across the back of your helmet. If it's nowhere on your motorcycle and you have a spot for it, put a little strip of reflective tape. Be seen. That's the best way to avoid being hit.
You know, and I like what you mentioned earlier about not just tapping your rear brakes, but visibility isn't just about being seen, but also seeing, watching your mirrors and being aware of everything going on around you.
Huge, huge point. When you ride your motorcycle, your eyes, you want to be scanning side to side, nonstop. Every possibility for oncoming traffic to make a left-hand turn in front of you is going into a side road. So when you see those side roads coming and you're traveling this way, I look at every left-hand turn off of the road, not because I'm going down it, but because if there's a car that has a possibility of making a left into it, I want to make sure I see that happening. Your eyes have to be everywhere. You got to be really on top of things, shoulder to shoulder of the road and everything else. I've not seen a lot of deer back off of a road. They usually run forward. So if I'm going to hit a deer, I'm going to probably try to swerve around the back of it.
Okay, excellent.
Just me, and I don't know if there's anything to that, but I would think they're going to try and go forward.
Love it. Thanks, Tommy. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to The Next Story. I'm your host, Justin DeMilan, and I'm here today at Gambit Jiu-Jitsu with Aaron Harris. Good to meet
Cheers.
you.
You as well, man.
And Mike Mills. How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So tell me what we got going on here.
So we are an MMA Jiu-Jitsu academy. We offer Muay Thai, wrestling, boxing, judo, everything under the sun. And we got judo class in the back and then MMA class behind that.
Nice. Fantastic. So you guys got a pretty busy schedule, apparently.
Yeah, it's packed. 7 days a week, man, morning and night, we got people in here.
So how'd you get started into this?
I was a tennis player and I tore my ACL and I couldn't do the footwork involved with tennis anymore. So I was like, you know what, man, I'll try and find something in the intermediate. Ended up stopping by a boxing gym, which was NYMAG up in Wappingers back in the day. So I started boxing, went to college for neuroscience, kept boxing when I was out there. Started fighting MMA, and I kept losing to grapplers. Dudes kept bringing me to the ground. I'd go throw a punch, get taken down, and I'd get submitted pretty quick. So when I was studying neuroscience at Binghamton, they had a jiu-jitsu club, and I started training with the club, and I was like, I don't want to do anything besides this from here on out. So I dropped out of school, took a one-way trip down to Brazil, stayed there for like 2 months and trained, and then the past 12 years, all it's been is jiu-jitsu.
Nice, that's cool. So, all right, so you actually went to Brazil to train Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I dropped out of school, bought a one-way ticket. I'm like, that's apparently the place where you learn.
So you decided being a boxer studying neuroscience wasn't quite doing it for you?
Nah, the head trauma, man. Yeah, I was applying to med schools and all that stuff. And
you were really able to, at that point, be able to focus on what was happening as a boxer then, yeah?
You mean the head trauma?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I knew a good deal about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of steered me away from that route. I did a lot of striking back in the day, and yeah, I mean, the more you hear, the more you know, the less you want to do it.
Sure, okay.
It's the slow, incremental hits over time. It's not the big ones that rattle your brain.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, I'm glad you brought that up because I remember somebody explaining to me, you know, getting into a boxing ring, you've got these big 16-ounce gloves on compared to getting into an octagon where you've got these much, much smaller gloves on, and how much worse that larger glove actually is for you because you're able to get hit so many more times before.
Yeah, it's not even close. Even in Muay Thai, I mean, with the event of open elbows and knees, the cuts can stop fights. You don't take as many shots, and if you get knocked out, the fight's over there. Where boxers with the 16-ounce gloves, you know, on the Philly shell and just covering up and taking damage, even when your gloves are on your forehead and you're taking those impacts, right? That rattling of side to side, that's what does the primary amount of damage over time. So I say boxers by far and above have it the worst.
So you are able to focus now on the ground fight more, which is, you know, 9 out of 10 times if something's going to happen, it's going to the ground anyways, right?
Yeah, for self-defense purposes, I think time and time again, jiu-jitsu is probably the most effective thing you can learn. I mean, wrestling's a close second. Just the ability to take someone who's untrained and control, whether it's standing or on the ground, I think that has to be the number one key in self-defense. You know, being able to control someone else's body where you could be an expert level striker, but maybe you get clipped with something and knocked out it's not quite as safe.
Now, Mike, you've got a different perspective on grappling because of your main day job.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
So I'm a police officer, I'm a supervisor up in the city of Kingston, and I run our ESU team, which is our SWAT team. And I found a lot of experience from my 14 years on the job of like fighting people on the street, arresting people, you know, SWAT operations, things like that. and that's what drew me to jiu-jitsu. I started off doing a little bit of boxing, similar long time ago when I was early 20s. Got into a little bit of Muay Thai, which my first Muay Thai instructor is an instructor here now, which is awesome.
Nice.
Oh, so it's been Nate?
Yeah, so former UFC fighter, which is Keith Barris, which is a coach here, which is phenomenal. And then I got into jiu-jitsu. Like, I had a couple incidents on the street where I felt confident in my skill set, and then I was getting in fights. I'm like, something's got to change.
Do you think this is the culture of law enforcement has changed over the years?
So the curriculum itself changed quite a bit. So there was so much older stuff. So in the late 90s was the last time there was an update to what they call the defensive tactic program, what police officers have been trained in. And then, not a local, but there was a black belt in New York State that was a police officer way upstate by the lake area. His name is Jay Wadsworth. He got started to push for this change in the curriculum for New York State because a lot of it wasn't working. Cops are going to their guns, they're going to their tasers, they're using pepper spray, using batons, and a lot of the stuff they're being taught, this hand-to-hand combat, was not working. So he got together with the state, and eventually they implemented a program in 2018, which has changed, and then the majority of all that program is jiu-jitsu and wrestling based. It's just absolutely changed like law enforcement perspective. So there's still some guys on the job, they're still learning the new way, and the newer officers are coming on, they're learning this jiu-jitsu based, wrestling based program, which has greatly helped them. There's been less injuries, there's more control, it's been had more success. Training jiu-jitsu is so important for police officers, not just to learn how to control them, and keep themselves safe, but keep themselves safe, but also keep the people that they're trying to arrest safely. But it also, jiu-jitsu gives so many different, benefits, like an outlet. You meet people on the mats. It's like such an amazing culture, and it gives you a lot of stress relief. It's a way to, get camaraderie. You meet people, and you're literally wrestling, and you look on the mats when everyone's laughing and tapping each other out, beating each other up, and we're not getting hit in the face for MMA, and they're just having a blast.
And it's a proficiency, right? That's so important with the continued training because there's a lot of advertisement for self-defense classes and that kind of stuff, but there's no move, there's no special technique, right? It's a proficiency and a skill set that takes X amount of hours to become proficient at. So it's not about practicing one set of skills. It's just becoming proficient at the art as a whole.
It's like a chess game, right?
It's a very physical game of chess with dire consequences. Yeah. No, there's a lot of ABCs to it, and the technique where it is comparable to chess is you can have a much less skilled a much more skilled practitioner who's a much lighter weight defeat someone exponentially larger than them if the technique is not equal, right? Okay. It's when size is equal and technique is equal that things like speed, power, and athleticism come and reign supreme.
Oh yeah.
But if the technique, if there's a large gradient and a big gap between the technique, then the lighter practitioner can still dominate.
Yeah. I know those times when you're watching a match and you see two extremely skilled guys that are really just locked in place because they're just thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead. If I do this, he's going to do this, and I've got to counter with this, and he's going to counter this. And
yeah, but to see, that's a big thing too, because past blue belt, all the jiu-jitsu you're learning is to beat other jiu-jitsu practitioners and grapplers. Most of the stuff we teach here, past blue belt, isn't really applicable to self-defense, like inversions and complicated chokes on the back. It's all fighting someone who knows how to defend appropriately. Like when you fight a white belt, for the most part, any of the ABC moves you learn in day one class, breaking closed guard, hip toss, a double leg takedown, that's all the stuff that you're going to be using to protect yourself against someone who doesn't know any better. Okay. You take mount position, they're stuck on the ground indefinitely because they don't know how to escape.
That's actually really, really great to hear for everybody, because that gives you that chance to get in, learn your self-defense, and then that's when you decide if you're falling in love with the art of it itself and you want to go past that.
For sure. And past that, it's a lifelong pursuit where you can focus on one thing indefinitely. But now when you're first learning, you learn even just understanding the basic positions and how to move your body. That is more than enough to keep you, put you in a much higher likelihood of success. God forbid you get into a self-defense scenario.
Me being motorcycle obsessed, I'm always constantly relating everything that I talk about with anybody to motorcycling, and this seems more applicable than so many other things that I've dealt with, that learning the basic skills to save your life, right? And then after that, you're really learning more in-depth skills, taking you just further and further into the art of it. You're a rider, yeah?
I am.
So, and what is it you ride?
I have a 2021 Indian Scout Bobber.
That's a beautiful, beautiful bike.
I fucking fell in love with it. Yeah, it's my favorite bike. I had a Ninja 500 before this.
Oh, nice.
And I was riding a little bit stupid, so I figured I'd settle in for a couch. Nice, heavier, slower bike, and I'm in love with it, man.
You know, I've talked to a couple other guys that made the same transition and went from, sport bikes and the Scout Bobber being the perfect transition bike, yeah?
It's amazing. But I crashed my bike 4 months ago, backed into a truck going 40 miles an hour, flew off into the woods. So I'm still doing the final repairs on my bike, but it's going to be ready for riding season.
If anybody's interested in finding out what's going on at Gambit here, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
So our website, gambitfighting.com, or contacting us by email at gambitfighting@gmail.com is probably the best route. You can find us on Google. We're, I would say, the Hudson Valley's premier martial arts academy at this point with, we offer classes again in Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, MMA, you name it. We have everybody from professional fighters and grapplers to day one moms and dads who just want to get in shape. So, but yeah, regardless of what you like to train, whether it's basic self-defense, you want to become a professional fighter, or maybe you want to try out grappling and see if it's the right fit for you, it's a good place to come in.
Nice. And you're located right here, basically in the heart of New Paltz, right? Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Hello, and thank you once again for tuning in to The Next Story. I'm your host, Justin, author of the book, I Almost Forgot to Kill You, released October 1st, 2025, available at Amazon in ebook or paperback formats. You can also go directly to my website, twowheeltimetraveler.com, and follow the links for purchase from there. I'm going to read you a quick excerpt from the story. My alarm goes off at 9 p.m., giving me time to shower and collect my thoughts before setting out for the Row Club parking area along the Hudson River. I do my best to plan out my questions for the man who shares my tattoo, keeping in mind the possibility of an ambush, but realize this is going to be more of a listening session than anything. Donning my helmet, I ease the Harley out of the garage and fire it up, finding comfort in the warm vibration of the engine, the bike working as a conduit for keeping me grounded. Easing the throttle back, I roll out into the cool night air, the steady climb of the engine wiping my mind clear as I shift through the gears. The usual scenery of the city takes on something of a different flavor tonight. The open-air drug market, which usually signifies criminality, addiction, and violence, looks a little more like escape hatches for the people who couldn't quite toe the line in a society they didn't ask to be part of. I consider Khalid Hall, or I should say Thomas Richards at this point, trying to make his way from Las Vegas to Hudson Point without having the luck of the draw I did, having to bypass all the common thoroughfares of life and find some other way to make ends meet. I consider the life path I very nearly had to take to get here myself, and the things I had done. Every step of my existence in Las Vegas was a criminal one. My trip across the country changed me, changed my perspective, all based on who I met along the way. Could I have ended up being someone entirely different? Maybe in Khalid Thomas's shoes, if I hadn't been lucky enough to fake my identity? As I roll across the train tracks behind the tree line and into the large gravel parking lot of the rowing club, I pull myself back into the present. The broad expanse of the Hudson River creates an inky sea of moving black along the eastern edge of the lot. The dark forest of the trees on the western edge cuts off from the grit of the city streets, leaving the feeling of having entered a completely different world just by crossing those tracks. Thomas Richards rises from a park bench near the Row Club building. He is backlit by a bright lamp above the building's door, cutting a perfect silhouette where he appears to be unarmed. Still, I swing the bike wide, allowing my vision to pick him up from a different angle without being blinded by the light behind him. Killing the engine, I remove my helmet and set the bike on its kickstand, the weight of the machine forcing it to sink into the gravel. I run a hand over my off-duty pistol, a compact Glock holstered at the front of my hip, concealed beneath my shirt. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next episode for another update.